Hey guys, so I was going to do another video this week, but I am just so horrified and saddened about what happened to Charlie Kirk, as are many of you guys, because we're empaths, right? And we're very sensitive and we feel the energy of the world around us and, the way other people are feeling. I'm very empathic and I know a lot of you guys are too. And that's one of the reasons you watch my channel. But I'm just really saddened and horrified by, what happened to him. And you guys know that I'm not political. I never take sides. I love both sides the same, and I always try to walk the line in the middle. So you guys know I'm not a political person. I've talked about this many times before. Check out my video. They don't want you to know this. But I'm just very saddened about what has happened and horrified. And like I said, I know many of you guys are. And, with what's happening in the country right now in the United States, as well as what's happening around the world. So I just wanted to pop on here and make a quick short video to kind of give you guys some perspective and to help you see it from a spiritual point of view, help you to see it from a higher point of view, as well as from a numerological point of view as well, because I always try to pull numerology into my videos, and it does help give us some guidance during these very trying, difficult times that we're in. Sometimes these are just things that are out of our control. We don't have control over these things, they're just happening, but at least there's some sort of reason and purpose why they're happening in the background, right? Numerology definitely helps us with that. To put it in a nutshell, we are in the energy of death right now. And, I talk about this in my predictions for the month of September video that I did. Check that video out. I'll link it below. In that video, I tried to soften it as much as I can, but there's only so much you can soften it when you're in the energy of death, you know? And we've been in this energy this whole entire year, right? We're having a 9 universal year, but it really hits heavy in the month of September, okay? Because we're having a 9 universal month in a 9 universal year in the month of September. Okay, 9, as we know, is a transitional energy. 9 is transcendence. It's transcending from the physical body and going into the spiritual state, transcending the physical world, moving beyond it, and moving into a higher state of being, the spiritual state of being. So, when you have a 9 month in a 9 universal year, you will often see unexpected deaths, unexpected people, people unexpectedly passing away that you would never expect. One day they're here and the next day they're gone. So we are in the energy of death, especially in the month of September 2025. And I've been saying all year long that there could be assassinations happening this whole entire year, people suddenly being taken away from us, especially world leaders in 2025 because of it being a 9 universal year. But I said in my video for September that a leader around the world could be removed or taken out. And I also said that some people in September could unexpectedly be passing away. Now, in a video that I had done a few months ago, I talked about how we would see people doing some really crazy things in 2025 because of the strong ascension energy that's hitting the planet right now. And that making some people do some really crazy things because the human body isn't used to that kind of high intensity energy. And, you know, just prior to Charlie's assassination, we saw that poor Ukrainian girl, Irina, being murdered in cold blood. That poor girl had been living in a bomb shelter before she came to the United States. And when I heard that, it just broke my heart. And then we've seen all the deaths of those poor people living in Gaza this whole entire year. So these senseless murders that have been taking place this whole entire year, it's all part of this energy, and we're just seeing a lot of people doing and behaving in very crazy, abnormal ways. So some of you might be wondering, can you predict death by looking at someone's numerology chart? Right? Because if you look at the overall energies, right, the overall energy of the year and the month, you can kind of see when there will be a mass exit of people, right? When a whole large group of people will be exiting. But when we look at the individual charts of certain people, we can usually not tell, we can usually not predict when somebody is going to pass away. Okay. And now sometimes you can by looking at somebody's numerology chart, like in the Queen's situation, but usually you can't. Usually you cannot use numerology or astrology to predict when someone's going to die, when they're going to pass away. And that's because the soul doesn't want you to know that. There are some things that your soul wanted you to figure out from numerology as well as astrology, and put that in your chart because it wanted you to find that someday, but not when you're going to pass away. Time and place of execution, unknown. Okay, we're not supposed to know that. But make no mistake that Charlie planned this out. You know, this was in his contract to leave at this time. And this is something that his soul planned out, that he would exit at this point. And so this is something that is beyond our control. You know, our soul will plan out when it will happen as well as how it will happen. And this is part of our contract. And that was the case with Charlie. It can be hard for some people to accept because it happened so suddenly, and he's so young, and he had these beautiful young children and had this beautiful young family. And that's what just broke my heart, is finding out that he had these two young kids who are never going to, you know, they're going to grow up never knowing their dad. His daughter is so young and she's never going to grow up remembering what her father was like. So that just really made me sad. And that somebody that would do this could not see that you know, that, yeah, this is somebody you don't agree with, you don't share their opinions with this person, but this is a father you're taking out. This is a husband, you know, he has a family. And so that just broke my heart, you know, as I know a lot of you guys did. It broke your hearts too, to think that something like this could happen because a difference is in opinion, because you don't share the same beliefs and opinions as somebody else, and that you could be taken out for that. So we're going to talk about freedom of speech as well in this video too. But it was planned in his contract. That was part of his contract. There was nothing anybody could do. It was going to happen, whether, you know, nothing could stop that. So just knowing that it was beyond our control and that there was a higher purpose for what happened is something that will bring a lot of people comfort, knowing that there's a greater purpose behind what happened. And he did not die in vain. Nobody dies in vain. There's always a purpose every time. There were people that were celebrating his assassination and his death, and that just really made me sad too. There is evil on this planet, and part of that is being controlled by fourth dimensional beings. The beings that live in the fourth dimension that don't want us to ascend into new earth. And so they are controlling these things from afar, making people do evil things, causing separation, causing division, so that the two sides never come together, never come into the middle. These fourth dimensional beings want to separate us. They don't want us to know that we are all one. And we are all connected to God. We're all connected to source energy. We're all fractals of God. There are fourth dimensional beings that don't want us to know this. They want to keep us in separation because then we lose our power when we're in separation, and New Earth never gets created. So keep that in mind. There are beings in the fourth dimension that want to keep humanity in the third dimension in separation. And as long as we're in separation, we don't get to enter New Earth, right? So when you see people celebrating these kinds of horrific events, just know that those people are being controlled by dark entities, often fourth dimensional beings. Okay. Now, also looking at it from a higher perspective, just know that everything that is happening in this physical world these are all the things that are happening on the play. This is all a play that's happening right now, right? And we're all the actors of the play, the good and the bad, right? We're all playing our parts, and some of these horrific things that are happening, all of these events are taking place because if you look at it from a higher perspective, expansion cannot happen without contraction, right? So in the play, you have to have bad things happen to the characters of the play, right? In order for there to be some growth and for there to be like some sort of a triumph at the end of the play or the movie. There has to be a triumph where you triumphed over that horrible challenge, that horrible thing that happened. You overcame it, you superseded it. And so when we look at it from a higher perspective, these things that are happening, they're happening for our own growth, even though it doesn't seem like that, right? And even those fourth dimensional beings that are trying to keep us in separation mode, they're still part of the play too, right? They're still characters in the play. They're just playing the bad guy in the play, right? But you still need to have a bad guy, or you won't have a play. The play doesn't exist. Like I said, I talk more about this in my video. They don't want you to know this. So check out that video. So is freedom of speech at risk in the United States? Right? This is something that affects both sides. No matter what side anybody is on, there's now this threat that if you speak your truth, if you speak your opinion, or if you try to debate somebody, just getting into a debate, that your life could be at risk, right? And so this feels like a threat to freedom of speech for everybody on all sides, right? Everybody gets threatened by this because, if it could happen to somebody on the right, it could happen to somebody on the left too for giving their opinion. And so that is something that viewers have messaged me about. Is this going to be the end of freedom of speech in the United States? And my response to that, based on numerology and looking at the numbers, I would say no. That will never happen in the United States. And mainly because the United States is a life path number 5, right? And we all know that 5 is a number of freedom. And that includes freedom of speech too. And that's why freedom of speech is always going to be very important in the United States. There will be times when it is tested and when, it feels like it's going to be taken away. But that will never happen in the United States because of it being a life path 5. Freedom is so important. And now this is a karmic debt 5. So there's been many times in which freedom has been tested or taken away. But in the end, it will never be taken away, because that is the purpose of the United States, is to give its citizens more and more freedom as the years go on. And that includes freedom of speech too, which is one of the most important freedoms of them all, right? Another thing too is that North America is the throat chakra of the planet. So the planet Earth, Gaia, Mother Gaia, is a being herself. She is a being, and all beings have a chakra system. And the throat chakra of planet Earth is North America. And that includes the United States as well as Canada and Mexico too. This is the throat chakra of the planet. And that's why you see so much speech coming out of that part of the world. So much expression coming out of that part of the world, because not only is the United States a life path 5, and 5, by the way, is ruled by the planet Mercury, and Mercury is the planet of communication, the planet of expression. So not only that, being a 5 ruled by Mercury, not only that, but North America is the throat chakra of the planet. So we will always see speech, we will always see expression coming out of this part of Earth, of Gaia. Now, like I said, Earth is a being, okay? Because she is a being, all we are the cells of this being, okay? That's all we are. We're like the brain cells of this planet. And so, look, if you want to find out more about this, I do talk about more about this in my video, Why the World is in Chaos Right Now. Okay, so I will link that video below in the description box as well. If you haven't seen it, check that out. But I talk about this, how I talk about the chakra system of the planet, how North America is the throat chakra, and how the Earth is just a giant being, and we are the cells and the brain cells upon her. And, in any brain, you have the left hemisphere and you have the right hemisphere, right? So you have brain cells on the left and you have brain cells on the right. And that's why you see the two different sides. They're never going to quite be able to see it from the other person's perspective, because they're just, the different brain cells in your brain are made differently, right? They're created differently. So they're never going to be on par with each other. They're never going to see things exactly the same way. But the goal is for them to learn to work together and to accept each other's differences, kind of like the way you see in a functioning brain of a human. And they come together and learn to work together for the benefit of the whole entire being, which is the planet Earth, Gaia. Once that happens, then we will enter a new Earth and we won't see the division on the planet anymore. And we are headed in that direction. Even if it doesn't seem like it, we are headed in that direction. That's why everything is falling apart right now. But really what's happening is it's being removed and paved away so that New Earth can be rebuilt. And we're in the process of rebuilding right now. But like I said, I am terribly saddened by what has happened to Charlie. You know, nobody deserves to be gunned down in cold blood like that. People should be able to have conversations and debate each other in a civil way, right? Without having to worry about their life being taken away from them on both sides, right? On both sides. And I don't see that going away. I see it getting stronger because of the United States being a life path number 5 and this being the throat chakra of the planet Earth. So Charlie did not die in vain. He did not die in vain. And make no mistake that this was part of his contract. So I am sending positive energy and prayers to Charlie and his family and to the whole entire planet. I'm sending lots of positive energy for peace. And I ask all of you guys to do that as well, because your prayers and your positive thoughts and feelings, they make a huge difference. So anyways, let me know in the comments below if any of this resonated with you. Let me know what your thoughts and feelings are about what has happened and what is happening on the planet right now. Let me know in the comments below. I really want to know, okay? And if you like the video, hit the like button and share it with other people. It's going to help get this information out there, and we want to help as many people as we can. And I would also love to have you subscribe and to become part of the family. You can also follow me on Instagram and Facebook. Thanks for watching. I love you guys, and I'll see you in my next video. Take care.